Wow, we went live and everybody is asking us if we have seen Moana 2. And I hate to break the news, but we have seen Moana 2.
What do you mean you hate to break the... Did you not like the movie? Low-key, I like the movie. I'm not even gonna lie. I actually really like the movie.
There's no way that you're lying to me right now.
You didn't like the movie? Are you serious? You didn't like the first movie, so of course you're not gonna like the second one.
Okay, so it's sort of, without being too spoilery, Moana 2, I think, is the inverted evil stepsister of Moana. Like, every problem that I have with Moana is inverted in Moana 2.
What does that even mean, bro?
Moana 1, there's not enough characters. It's a little...
You're not gonna tell me there's too many characters in Moana 2.
There is too many motherfuckers.
There's like 6 characters in the whole
and
goddamn movie.
And they're all on like a like 8-inch boat. Like, they can't even do anything, dude.
They made a bigger boat. What are you talking about? It was a bigger boat.
Not big enough, bro.
Because I would say my biggest problem with the first movie was that there was way too much of the movie was just Moana by herself, that it was like kind of lame. But then the second movie, like, she has her fun crew of like characters that all have one trait. And I'm like, this is cool. This is like One Piece for babies. Like, this is fun. I actually like the movie. So like, I guess like you'd have to deconstruct it first and tell me like what you didn't like.
This is gonna be hard because I don't think, like, I think there's like maybe 2 things I liked in the movie. Just a basic summary for people who haven't seen it yet. The plot of Moana 2 is that she comes back and she becomes a wayfinder and she has to go find the special island to unite all the people of the sea.
Obviously, it's a second movie when there was never the intention for a second movie from the start. So the whole purpose behind the second movie is gonna feel like bullshit. Like, that's kind of inevitable.
Well,
you know what I mean?
The movie was supposed to be a Disney Plus series. After Disney dropped like 40 stinkers in a row, they were like, we are really desperate for something that's going to perform well in the box office. So they took the Disney Plus Moana series and retooled it into a movie, which is why there's a couple really obvious parts where there was supposed to be a character arc that doesn't exist. I don't think you should see the movie. In fact, I think it's probably like the ethical thing to not see this movie, to encourage Disney not to make more sequels.
Oh my god. Look, okay, here's the thing. Like, you're gonna be talking about all this fucking bullshit, like, oh, it was a TV show and they turned it into a movie that's so lame. They did that because Disney Plus is like bleeding money horrendously. Like, they're just gonna stop making those TV shows. So that was kind of the last one that was just sitting in the pipeline like a constipated poop. Like, they had to get it out.
They just released a new Star Wars show like a month ago.
Yeah, but that's like they print those out. Those aren't real. They just sit in the blue room all day. This is like an animated thing. It actually costs money to make. So I don't know. I really don't think it's that big of a deal that they repurposed a TV show into a movie.
I just think it's obvious that it is that way because of the way that it's structured. Because
but I don't think it hurts the movie.
In some ways, I think it's the pacing feels faster. For instance, when the characters all get on the ship, there's this big buff guy that's a huge stan of Maui. He loves Maui. They finally reach the cursed waters, and he gets knocked in the water, and Maui comes and saves him. And it's so clearly that he's like traumatized from the experience. Like, he looks like really sad. And when they get to the beach, he's sitting on the beach all crouched up, and he's crying. And it's like, this is the character who's been super confident and like sure of himself the whole movie. I'm like, oh, okay, so they're gonna explore, like, she's gonna have to cheer him up and he's gonna have to find his will to keep moving forward. No, Moana just goes into this room and sings a song, and then she comes out and she's like, who's with me? And he's like, yep. Like, they just skip a character beat. Like, it just doesn't exist.
That song was hella good though. Like, let's be f***ing for real. Okay, sure, like the character arcs aren't all there, but like, at the sacrifice of the character arcs not being all there, I feel like the inclusion of the other characters helped Moana herself have way more characterization than she did in the first movie. Because Moana didn't really feel like a real person in the first movie because she like barely interacted with anyone over the course of the entire movie. Like, she only really talked to Maui. Here in this movie, she has like the Bat Lady. She has the three characters that are on the boat with her that she actually has like a dynamic with. So it feels like she's like more of a fleshed out character because she talks to like people in different ways and stuff.
See, I don't really get that, because for me, my problem is that Moana has the exact same character arc she had in the first movie. Her character arc is that she is tasked with a big mission. She's like, I don't know if I can do that. And then everybody's like, you're Moana, of course you can do it. And she's like, well, I guess I can do it. Like in an overall spectrum, that's kind of my issue, is that I feel like a lot of modern Disney movies are afraid to make the princesses flawed in any any like meaningful way. Moana isn't a hater. Like, she doesn't dislike anything. Like, I don't really know what her opinions about most things are, except the fact that she likes the water and she wants to help her people.
Okay, but let's talk about some of the good aspects of the movie. Go ahead.
The music. Okay, it's a slightly backhanded compliment. I like the music in this more than the first movie. I think it will probably have less cultural impact. I don't think it's as bold, but I found it more pleasant. And the song that the sexy bat lady sings is really good. That song slaps. I like the opening song.
Did you like the rock song in this one?
No, I hated that song. That song was
Oh my
fucking
god,
so
you just
annoying.
hate everything.
Can I get a
fun.
yeehaw?
That song was fun, bro. It was like I was like low-key feeling
You
hella hyped up
liked
for
that song?
And also, like, literally anytime The Rock spoke in this movie, I laughed. Like, I'm not gonna lie. Like, I laughed a lot watching this movie. I thought it was really funny.
I thought this movie was like so painfully unfunny. Like,
Are you serious?
And also, I went to like a 9:30 show. It was still mostly kids in the theater. Most jokes, dead silence. I felt like the humor was a little too like look into the camera, like Jeb Bush type beat, because there's a lot of jokes that are literally just repeating jokes from the first movie.
Like, the guy who was obsessed with Maui, like, from Maui's perspective was really funny, because, like, Maui was just, like, the second he met him, he, like, wasn't afraid to, like, just roast him. It's like this kid idolizes him, and he was just literally making fun of him frame one. Like, I thought that was pretty funny. Like, especially with, like, when you think about it from, like, a double-sided joke, like, The Rock actually is famous and probably deals with people like that all the time, and he's making fun of them in the movie. That was pretty funny.
See, that's why I think Maui is, like, the most interesting character in the franchise, because he is a character that is just a hater. Like, he's broadly fairly negative and pessimistic, which is interesting because, like, I feel like everybody in Moana is too goddamn positive.
It was so artificial. Like, whenever she was gonna leave the island at first, and her whole family was like, no. Her dad was like, she can't leave. Who knows when she'll return? I'm like, motherfucker, she just left in the last movie. Like, she just did it.
The fact that, like, when they're leaving, they do this whole setup where they're gonna be like, this is a long, arduous journey. You have to put together a team. And I think this is partially in the fall of Moana lacking many strong characters, is that they just have to introduce new people. Because it would have been cool if they could flesh out characters from the first movie more.
The only character that they fleshed out in the first movie turned into, like, a manta ray.
The fact that her motherfucking grandma keeps showing her goddamn just die. I saw this with my roommates, and one of them, because she had to sit in a different part of the theater because we ended up getting the tickets separately. We couldn't get seats together. The woman sitting next to me was crying like every time the grandma showed up.
You know that girl was crying because something happened to her grandma or something. That's, like, messed up to even think about, bro. Like, damn. Yo, double spoiler alert, even though we already gave a spoiler alert, and the title of the stream is Moana 2 Discussion. What did you think about the amazing fake out Moana death?
The double fake out? The double fake out?
Did you think she was actually... I thought she was actually going to die. I started crying in the theater.
I just can't believe... Okay, it was like a quadruple fake out. Because, like, they fake out... Spoilers for Moana. First they fake out Maui, and he loses all his tattoos, and it's really dramatic.
I didn't think that they were gonna give him his tattoos back. I'm like, oh, now he doesn't have his tattoos. Like, they're gonna do something with that. Like, that's crazy.
Moana loses her oar, her Wayfinder oar, and it looks like she's dead. Then they go down. It turns out Maui's fine. He's not dead. He just lost his tattoos. He swims down, picks up Moana. Then they form like a little air pocket, and Moana magically comes back to life and gets magic tattoo. And then Maui magically gets his tattoos back and his hook back, and Moana magically gets her fucking oar back. Moana couldn't even lose her motherfucking oar. They couldn't sacrifice an oar for this movie.
So I thought the movie still looked really good. We both agree that the majority of the music was really good, and I thought the movie was funny. So, like, I feel like the vibes are good enough to, like, for me to, like, give it, like, a positive score. Like, I didn't dislike the movie.
I don't think the movie has anything to say or add, though. The ending of the movie is, like, they're going to unite their sea people. And again, they don't really explain why this is important. It's just kind of important because. And so when they finally get to the island, immediately they're there and they hear horn, turn around, oh my god, there's sea people. Horn, oh my god, there's sea people. And then they all meet up silently and don't say a line of dialogue, and then they go home. So it's like the whole point of like what the movie was getting to is like has all the significance of a wet fart. Like, it doesn't feel like what the point what the objective was held any real thematic or emotional significance for the characters on an individual level.
I thought it was really funny though, because I'm like, okay, now they're all connected. Like these motherfuckers about to go into trade war or something, bro. Like,
This is why I think, because people hate on Frozen 2 so much, but Frozen 2 is so obviously about colonialism. It has a very clear theme that is explored through the story. And this movie feels like it could have been adjacent to that, where I was expecting when she said the setup that she would have to go to the islands and find the people separately and get them to unite. And it would be about, you know, even in spite of our differing views and cultures, we can unite together for like a common belief for the greater good. But the other peoples are only ever, they're like a vague idea. They don't really exist in any material or meaningful way.
so what is your final verdict? What would you say your final verdict is? What's the last thing you want to leave people with? Because I already said, like, I like the movie because I don't think about it as much. Honestly, I think a big part of it, I thought the movie was going to be like complete dog. So I think part of the reason why I actually liked it is probably because like my expectations were so low. And obviously Lin-Manuel Miranda didn't work in the movie because like he's pro-union, and this movie was like given to the Canadian studio that isn't unionized, that did the TV show and everything, and then they turned it into a movie. So I was like, damn, the music's gonna suck because Lin-Manuel Miranda isn't on it. But then I'm like, no, it was actually really good, and I was actually really happy with it. I'd still only give it like a 5.5 out of 10. Like it's like, I would say it's like barely positive.
I came into the movie after I had a improv class that was specifically, the class was all about vulnerability. I went into this movie in possibly the most emotionally open state I could have gone into a movie called Moana 2. I was really trying to connect with the emotions, and that I think is why I hate it so much, because to me, for a movie about the ocean, it is mind-numbingly shallow. Like, it feels like a Disney baby. Like, they took every Disney movie and made them each other, and then it's like what Moana 2 is like an amalgamation of vaguely gestures of ideas that are good, but there's nothing that really ties it all together. There's no uniting theme or message that really puts the spirit together. I don't think people are gonna remember Moana 2 exists in 10 years. Like, I don't see it having like that much of an impact.
You think it's gonna have a direct-to-DVD vibe?
Yeah, I mean, that's what it feels like. It certainly feels like a direct-to-DVD movie, except for the fact that I think the direct-to-DVD movies usually are more ambitious. Like, they usually have weird ideas in them. This movie didn't feel like risky enough. Was it better than Kung Fu Panda 4? No, because Kung Fu Panda 4 had Awkwafina in it, and she's my personal idol.
Awkwafina's my Oshi, basically.
Exactly, basically. Did you see the white woman who was overwhelmed by Polynesian culture when she went to that's all. Actually, that might have, I think that probably was my favorite scene in the whole movie, was when Moana is leaving and they're singing like the traditional chant. I think that was like my favorite scene because it felt very compelling. It felt like a really good representation of her culture and her people and their identity as a group. How was the new villain? There's a new villain. Moana doesn't.
There's no villain.
It doesn't have a villain. It actually doesn't have a villain. Like, it literally doesn't have a, like, the villain is like a faceless entity that shoots lightning bolts. The villain is a motherfucking weather forecast.